Hey everybody, welcome back. I'm joined with my friends Howie, Dunn, and Rioris, and this is the second part of a two-part expose. That sounds kind of fancy, but an explanation about things going on with the Smoking Gamer, who we all were affiliated with, and it's I guess the head of it, Pride, and some of our issues we were having, and we wanted to explain it to you guys who have been watching Buttwaither's lore and other things we did on the channel. We kind of wanted to vet our own problems that we were having for months and months, as well as kind of give you guys an inside look of just how kind of terrible it got at the very end before we all decided to leave. So go back, watch part one. That had to do with Blizzcon, which was kind of the building up moment to the cracks beginning to form. And now we're going to get into the fall, I guess, if you want to make it dramatic. We're going to begin with Rioris, who shortly after BlizzCon, some shenanigans went down. So, Rioris.
Yep, let's see. So, about a year ago now, I had, like everyone else, I was quite upset about BlizzCon, overworking and just not seeing much coming out from the actual trip itself. So, as a lot of you probably know, I was the producer behind Buttwaither's Lore. I did all the actual live streaming work, I brought everything up on stream, I made sure that everything was going out on time, and then I put the videos out on YouTube afterwards. It can be quite a large amount of work, especially the overlays, which was the main trigger for me actually just saying, fuck it, I'm out. So the overlays, you see them every week, and I have to prepare. I did have to prepare. It's been a while since I've done it now. So a overlay for the webcams. About 11 overlays for the top 10, which takes quite a while when you're having to update a PNG or really get another PNG out every time. And it's it doesn't take long to do one, but when you're having to do 11 at once and change this one thing every time, it can stack up the time. Other overlays for the stream going down when we're getting ready to go in, and during breaks, and occasionally one or two other things, plus all the videos. There's a lot that goes into it. So I would usually spend about an hour and a half before each show doing the overlays. This was coming out of my free time. I was, for the most of the time during the videos, I was full-time in school. Towards the end, I was actually working full-time. And so I had a lot of free time. I won't deny it. I didn't have the biggest social life in the world, but it was cutting into my own time. So one week, I have just spent an hour and a half doing all my overlays. I get them all into my streaming software, OBS, which also takes a while because I have to specifically line up everyone's cameras depending on who's on the show and get everything sorted so it is just ready to go when I press the button. And about half hour before the show started, everything was set up, everything was ready to go. I just had to do one or two little webcam things, but for the most part we were good to go. Pride comes to me and tells me to chuck all my overlays out the window and replace them with some fan art that somebody had done. Now, I'm all for fan art, having fan art overlays. I support that, that's cool. The reason I do a lot of what I do is because of the fans. I've lost a lot of respect for Pride over the years, and the only reason I kept doing a lot of what I do was because there are people who are sitting down every week to watch what I'm working on, and I kind of felt an obligation to them. So somebody sends in some fan art, yeah, I'm gonna put that up. But I would have put this up in the next episode, 1 week from now. It's not very long at all, it's 1 week. It would have meant considerably less work for me because I wouldn't have to take out all the things I'd already done, move them around, and then move all the cameras around. It would have completely made the majority of what I'd already done null and void because we would have moved on to a new top 10 list and I'd have to remake another 12 overlays for that. And it was just generally, no, I don't want to do this. So I told Pride, no, I'm not going to do it. Wait till next week. I thought it was a fair enough request, and he said, no, you're just not going to stream today then. He'll do it. Which just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. I'd been working on Buttwaither's Lore for about a year and a half then. I'd taken it from the transition from the radio show to the video show, and I had completely reinvented the way that I streamed. Pride was the one who taught me how to stream in the beginning, but I changed the software, I changed the way it was done, I added in a lot more things that made it a bit more difficult to use, but it had much more robust features. For instance, when we started out, I could not hear you guys during breaks, which could get kind of annoying. I'm just kind of sitting there like, la, 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 doing my own thing while you guys are having a chat. So I remade it so I could hear you guys during the breaks. I was able to play music a lot easier. I was able to do a lot more things that made the show run smoother. And Pride is just like, no, fuck you. I'm doing it. And this was quite recently after BlizzCon, so I was still a bit peeved about that. And I essentially just said, I quit. Just on the spot, I quit. Fuck you, flip tables, I'm gone. And I was very, very angry. I was talking to these guys while they were doing the show, and so my big thing is the whole tech side of it, and I had my fingers in many pies, and I won't deny this, while I was pissed off, I was tempted to do some things which were morally wrong, and also rather illegal. I didn't, because once, obviously I'm not in jail, you would have noticed if I'd done anything, and fans. I always say, fans are nice people. I actually met somebody once who actually watched the show, and I wouldn't say fanned over me, which is like, oh, that's cool, which was an odd experience, considering how little I do, and how little I actually appear on these damn things. But the fact is, there are people out there who watch what I do. Or did.
Well, for all of us as a character on the show, you were a character as well. A lot of it, most of it, all of it from us was in jest, but I feel like what maybe you not have expressed well enough is that wasn't the only time Pride did something like that to you. Like, there were lots of occasions. I remember, only been on the show for like almost a little over a year, where there was lots of stuff at the last minute, everything had to be changed, we had to add more stuff.
Change and overlay.
I was glad I wasn't in your position.
People. Yeah, I would have to kind of piggy dance whenever Pride said so, which, sure, it was alright for a while. I was only, 17 when I started doing this thing, and I was younger. I'm not that much older now, but I was willing to do it because, hey, I'm doing YouTube shit, whatever. I was excited about it, and I was eager, so I did it. And you can only really be eager for so long before you start wanting to kill people. So, as I said, it grated away at me, after having to remake top 10 lists, change overlays because I didn't like a picture or something. I'm sure that's happened once before. It got on my nerves, and I was done. And I just couldn't take it anymore, so I quit on the spot. And I pretty much severed contact. At one point, I was actually contacted about being paid for what I did at BlizzCon. I will say that did happen. I didn't know how much I would have been paid, because I kind of just wrote it off. I didn't want to take I don't want to say dirty money. That sounds a bit too sketchy for what it was. It was just, I didn't want any association, I didn't want to get dragged back in anything, so I just said nothing when the call came in. I don't know if you guys actually got paid for what you did at BlizzCon? No?
Mine was my ticket, I assumed.
No,
I was under the assumption there would be more, but that's all.
Yeah, I mean, we don't really want to go back to BlizzCon, but basically that was still under the umbrella of the pay graph that we had talked about also earlier in part 1. And so when it came to receiving things for those views that had hit 13,000 or anything like that, as far as I know, no one received anything for that.
Okay, well, and I will say I was offered it. I essentially turned it down by ignoring the offer. But that's all I can really say on the issue. Yeah, going back a long way, Pride took a very hands-off approach as soon as he was able to actually give me the reins. He stepped away immediately, and he offered very little guidance. We would do, during the weeks, we would have the top 10 list doing voting. At first, it was Pride would decide what the top 10 list was, and then guide it along. We scrapped that turn it into a voting list, which was meant to be created by, I don't know, some probably Pride again. I can't quite remember now. But in the end, I think it was either me or Tyranor who would just push it along because otherwise it wouldn't get done.
We're missing a block of the show if we didn't do it. So
Yeah, it's a good half hour of the show gone. It's a 2 hour show, half hour does count as a quarter of the show. So either me or Tyranor who had to push it along, get it into the next stage of voting, and I took no responsibility ever. I mean, obviously over 1 or 2 times, but for the most part it was somebody else doing all the work for the show which he was taking the money home from. He was the one who was acting as the figurehead, and I didn't really get much recognition. I wasn't in it for the recognition, I was doing it because, hell, it was kind of fun, and I like you guys.
Well, I think you nailed it on the head. The second that he could sit back and someone else took the reins, he just wanted to sit back and let everything else get done and kind of just take the revenue in. And that's fine if you're actually paying the people who are then controlling what you're not doing anymore. But there's only so long people can do stuff for free before they're kind of like, Rioris, you already said it, but I got to that point too shortly after you left, where I was just like, look, I'm not getting paid. I'm sick of doing all this. I can say if we want to progress it a little further. After Rioris left, that's when I finally told Pride, look, I'm not doing any of this writing stuff anymore. I was still supposed to begin the work on the next, whatever the next series was, Lore for Noobs, I believe is what it was. And I actually wrote the first episode of that. I think it was Khadgar or something. And after that, he was like, now I have like 18 other videos I need to set up for you. And I was like, look, I'm done. I told Dunn I didn't even want to deal with Pride because he and all the interactions I've had with him since this has begun after BlizzCon, I felt dirty dealing with it because I knew that specter of the money from BlizzCon. I don't want to get back to BlizzCon, but I still am mad about it, and it still bothers me. So whenever I talk to him, I just don't feel right about it. I didn't want to talk to him, so I just told Dunn, I was like, look, I can't do any of these videos anymore. It's way too much work. None of the writers that I hired were really doing anything besides Tyranor. He was literally the only other person who was actually writing stuff. I had like 7 other people who said they were interested, but once again, when you want people to do lots of things for free for you, they're just not going to show up. So I had to tell Dunn, who was still acting as general manager or whatever his title was, look, I'm done with this. I'm finished. And Tyranor, I guess, became the creative manager or whatever you want to call it. So that's kind of what happened next. I don't know. The timeline's kind of blurring for me now. So Howie, do you remember exactly the next kind of like bigger thing that occurred after this till the end?
I honestly believe at this point it was just the slippery slope of just when Rioris left, you can clearly see that the production level takes a sharp decline. When it came to streaming, all of a sudden you would see all the behind the stuff. You would see like some of them just wouldn't have background pictures anymore. We'd have to wait like 30 seconds for something new to be popped up. Internet connection was never as good. Just the overall quality of the show just seemed to be in sharp decline at that point, with so many people starting to be like, wait, we're not getting paid for this. Why are we putting in so much effort? And I think Rioris, you could clearly tell as soon as he left, he was clearly the backbone of the show, everything basically holding it up to even the what I would call acceptable standards, and then after that it declined to unacceptable standards, stuff where if you saw that, even if you were a fan, you'd be like, what's happening here?
And the views reflect that, like 100%.
Mm-hmm. That's what it was. I think for us is that we were still. People might ask, why were we still there? And I would say for me, it was I liked talking about it. Honestly, I mean that's what it was. That's what But Wait There's Lore was for me. Even at that time, even after all this stuff was happening, it was still just us sitting down talking about WoW stuff, which I would have done that even for free. I would still do something like that, maybe not with Pride, definitely not with Pride, but with like everyone else, I would still sit down and do that kind of thing with everyone here, because it's just a fun thing that I wouldn't even want to be paid for. If I was, that's great, but if I wasn't, I would do it for free, because I do that kind of anyway with you guys.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Because I remember Rioris, when you left, you like you said, you were still angry, and you were like, why are you guys still doing this? And I remember Howie and me both said, look, it's something to do. We like talking about the lore. I mean, you were rightfully angry. I just want to point that out. But we were like, look, there's something we like doing. We like talking about the lore. So that's why Also, I like talking with people in the comments. There's not that
Yeah.
many anymore, but
Yeah, people should know that Q&A, that ended a long time ago. People stopped
Yeah.
sending questions.
There was a
them
lot
were
of
made
making up questions, wasn't there?
Yeah, there was,
What
actually.
can we invent this time?
And so
So-
that's what it. I mean, that was just the beginning of it. If you go to that, you'd see that we were still a part of it. There wasn't a set schedule anymore. It became there was. I mean, there was a set schedule at the beginning, even after Rioris left. Quality went down, scheduling went down. What we were talking about went down. There was never any formation to it. It was hard to have a plan for it. But like I said, at this point, it was just we were still there just because it was something that it was fun to be a part of whenever it did happen. And
Yep.
for us now, it's reaching. It just got worse as time and time goes on. You would see that all of a sudden it would be a month without anything, and then all of a sudden, this is how it would happen. There would be months, like literally a month, without anyone hearing from Pride. And then he would message us and say, I want to film a But Wait, There's Lore in the next 2 hours. Everyone get on.
yeah.
And for us, at this point, I'm in Austin now, like trying to do my thing. Necro's off trying to do his thing. Dunn is off, in a different country, so time zones are like just messed up. Rioris wasn't a part of it anymore, although obviously we still are in contact with Rioris because he's a friend. Just like that's one thing. Me, Rioris, Dunn, and Necro have. I mean, throughout But Wait, There's Lore, have become very good friends throughout it. So even when Rioris quit, we still hung out with Rioris all the time while playing. I mean, it was just pretty much a daily Skype conversation that we would have. So that was never an issue for us. But that's I don't know why.
I think it was good to bring up because it wasn't just like the show was done and then we just stopped talking to each other till the next episode.
Yeah, for us it was always the only thing that we were missing, and the only reason why we couldn't have done it was because we were missing Pride, which I think is a big thing. We were missing Pride give the go-ahead to do an episode, and the reason why we didn't just say, let's do an episode, was because it was weird thinking that we would do an episode and then have Pride be not only paid for it, but he's the one who's getting the only benefits from doing it.
Yeah, he's getting the recognition once again. Yeah, pretty much covered it.
Yeah,
Um,
and so why would we, in our position when we're not getting paid for it, we're not even like receiving anything for it? If we already do this every day, why would we decide to put it up on someone else's channel who we don't even talk to at this point anymore?
Yep. And I should say, before we get to the very end, Pride did try to give the show to me. I want to remember people that was a thing that did happen. The problem is he still wanted ultimate control over it. I was able to make the changes that I wanted, but he was kind of like I couldn't change the show. If I wanted to get rid of a bunch of people, I wouldn't have been able to do it. If I wanted to change how long the show was, I really wouldn't have been able to do it. If I wanted to radically just alter how the entire show worked, I wouldn't be able to do it. Not to mention, Pride basically told me he would pay me some for it. Once again, another episode of him saying he would pay us for stuff and ultimately never getting anything. But he said he would pay me for it, and the problem is he offered me about, I think it was 15% of the views of the money of the views of the episode,
Which at that point were nothing.
We're
No
nothing.
views.
But furthermore, he would literally be doing nothing for the show, and I would be doing, and everyone else who was involved would be doing everything. That was a big reason why I didn't tell him at first I would do it, because it was a lot of work. I had to find a technical producer. Rioris was already gone. I don't fault him for this at all, but he didn't want to come back, even though Pride wasn't involved. I 100% understood. I couldn't find a technical producer. No one wants to do stuff for free, which is a big problem that we keep bringing up. So between that and getting paid a pittance compared to what little it would have been anyway, versus him doing nothing and getting paid the vast majority of it, it just wasn't worth it. So that's why when this show, we had the episode where he said I was taking control, and then we started the next season, and I said, basically, look, I couldn't do it. So I didn't give all of the reasons on the official show when I did it. Now I can, and I just wanted to bring that up before we get to the very end of it.
And you'll know that At this point, sorry, we're typing. So
Yeah.
basically, as this is definitely live, as you can tell, because there's a lot of
Yeah.
rambling and going back and forth. But at the same time, we are having a conversation about what we want to include and what we don't want to include, and basically making our moral judgment on what we can prove and what is a little bit too personal and may not. We don't want to basically say anything. Nothing that you see here can't be proven.
Yeah.
Basically, through either going through Skype chat back in time through Skype chats or looking at my own bank statements for what I did pay during BlizzCon. All of that stuff can be proven, and we want to make sure that we don't include anything here that is just our rumors, our thoughts on what might have happened. So that's what we're kind of doing whenever
We're trying to avoid speculation, even if the speculation, I will say, for some of the stuff, we're almost 100% certain of, but it's not worth it, because if
all
he ends up,
circumstantial
yeah, it's circumstantial, and I'm sure he'll find out when he comes back from BlizzCon and realizes, shit, everyone left. But we don't want to give a loophole to be like, these people are just trying to get me, because we're not. Howie and I, at least in specific, Dunn and Rioris as well, we lasted for so long getting paid nothing to do this.
Yeah, it's been a long time. As most of you know, me and Dunn have been doing this since I started doing this my first year of college, so that was 4 years ago. It's been about 3 to 4 years since me and Dunn started. So that, I mean, it's crazy to think that we lasted this long on a completely free thing. It was fun. I actually, I'll get into this later. We'll get into it up towards the end. But basically, at this point, it was given to, I want to talk about how it was offered to Necro to take over Boether's lore. When I first heard about this, I had a ton of ideas, because at the time, at the beginning, I thought that meant he was giving all of the Smoking Gamer to Necro, and so he could focus on his other things, which was, as we found out later, to be this beginning, the possibility of the beginning of Nexus Champ, which is his new project. But we'll get into that at the very, very end, because that's something whole separate that hopefully Dunn will be here for, but who knows if he'll be back from his phone call in time.
Yeah, really.
So, I thought he was giving over the entire Smoking Gamer, and at this point, the Smoking Gamer is receiving no views, but wait, there's lore is in shambles. Multiple show projects that I thought were receiving good views, when we do an episode, all of a sudden were cut for no reason, because Pride didn't want to do the work. Examples of this are the machinima that Pride did, which I give him props, because it was a good opening machinima that got a good amount of views, especially for this channel. There was one episode of that, then it was done. Pride joins the Horde in general. Oh God, what are some other things?
You want to talk about his
SimCity
9WoW
tutorial?
stuff that were popular? Yeah.
Oh, SimCity was definitely one. What did you say, Rioris?
I said
He said
SimCity.
that, SimCity.
Oh, so yeah, SimCity definitely was a huge one, which got one episode and then that was done. If you want to go way back, the Smite guides. For a while, we were thinking about doing DayZ stuff. There was just a lot of projects that he wanted to do that we would start and then not do. And so I thought a complete revamp of the Smoking Gamer was necessary at this point. And I was talking to Necro about it. I think I even talked to Pride about it. I'm not sure if I ever went into too specifics, because something you have to realize about Pride is he's very prideful of himself. He is a huge kind of ego maniac, as we will find out towards the end. We'll go into a little bit more specific of it. But telling him to change anything that he's done is like pulling teeth. And so at this point, I thought the Smoking Gamer had a ton of subscribers. It still does. If you look at it, that number does not go down. It usually stays around the same, if not gets slightly higher. I don't know how that works. I don't know why people are still joining. But they are. They're still subscribing, and I don't know, because the views do not reflect that.
Nope.
So I thought, okay, there's a good subscriber base. Let's start from scratch. Let's change it up. Let's make, and I had plans of But Wait, There's Lore being a weekly podcast, not just about But Wait, There's Lore anymore, but kind of like what it became at the end, which was like a bullshitting podcast, just a normal podcast where we would talk about a lot of Warcraft stuff, but we wouldn't advertise it as like a lore thing anymore. It would just kind of be like, the lore would change into, the weekly things for lore would change into videos that we would put out, short videos, like 3 to 4 minutes long, and then that podcast would just be a bullshit podcast where we kind of can summarize that stuff. But if you're looking for the meat, you would go to these short videos. And that's what I advertised to Pride, Necro. I was a huge proponent of it. I said we should probably change the name, because I'm a big believer of if once that name has been slandered or once that name has been associated with a certain style, it's kind of done at that point. People will look at the Smoking Gamer and say, well, that's but wait, there's lore, isn't it? And if we try and change it up and what is being associated with that, it was, I just got nowhere with it, though, because when I approached Pride with it, Necro obviously wasn't in any position to do anything about it, because I eventually found out, was basically in control of just doing but wait, there's lore, not changing anything, just doing it.
I think all I did was like cut one host was the plan. That was
it. Basically, he had the power of who was on the show, and that was it. And so when I realized that, I'm like, oh, so I think I sent one thing to Pride saying, hey, I'd like to revamp some of the channel, and then I don't think he ever responded, which was a common thing, and so I dropped it. And so that's where it was for that. It was a lot of things where we knew the channel was dying. We were still doing it. And eventually we'll get to the end part here, which is the when we all resubbed to WoW and went back to the Smoking Gamer Guild and Many Whelps, which... Actually, you know what? There's one last thing about the channel that we'll get into since we talked about this guild. Beta contest for Warlords of Draenor is probably one of the things that we could really talk about, which is we're all resubbed at this point. We're all kind of lightly... I know me and Necro especially was heavy into the beta. We got beta keys. I don't know if it was from Pride at this point or just randomly. I can't remember.
I think it's hard to tell.
It's hard to tell because what we usually happens as well is a pretty big beta, and they are way less strict with who they give keys to than they were back in, let's say, Cataclysm and beyond. It's a lot easier to get a key now for betas. So I don't know if it was from us being a channel or not. Pride's residual ties with people, but he basically messaged. Once again, we don't hear from him from weeks, and then he comes out with this long spiel about this beta contest that he wants to do. Once again, gears start turning in the background for me and Necro and Dunn, and we have all these ideas of how we could try and... At this point, every idea is how to salvage the channel, salvage the show. And he came up with this transmog thing, and he was... Basically, I mean, this was just something that Pride did that really struck us all the wrong way at the same time. He he basically wanted 9 winners over the course of 2 months, I want to say, a 2-month window of 9 winners. And he promised this 9 before he even had the beta codes to give away. Which was a huge thing, was that he was... The reason he was stretching this out is because he didn't actually have any extra beta codes to give to anybody. It was all hoping that he would eventually get 9. And even now, I don't think he has finished the contest, even though the beta's over.
Yep.
I don't even know what happened with that. I mean, for a while, we were all getting messages because, you know, at a certain point, people associate us with being in charge of that stuff because we're on But Wait, There's Lore. I'd be getting messages in the guild on just random contacts of people asking me, hey, I won that beta contest, where's my key? And I wouldn't respond to them because I don't know where their key is. No one knew. We just knew we didn't have keys at that point. It was all in Pride's court, but at this point, this is when me, Necro, and Dunn started to realize we're being associated with something that not only had the BlizzCon fiasco, but now is having this beta key fiasco, and we didn't want to be associated with that.
Yeah, Howie and I ended up, I remember, I don't know if you ended up going through it, but you were going to say you were going to tell people, and I did. When they would ask us at the end of it, I would eventually just say, I'm not involved at all, because I didn't know what was going on. I didn't like the idea. He asked for feedback. I kind of was like, I don't know, Pride, that seems like a lot of work, because it did. It's a beta contest. At most, it should have been like, you comment on a video when you get in, but he, like Howie said, the reasoning is he stretched it so long he didn't have it. I had to just disassociate myself 100% with it because I was assuming it was going to crash and burn and just take everyone down with it, and I didn't want to even be involved with it. Because once again, it's not us who's getting hurt by it. It's the people who watch the show. The people who watch the show are getting screwed over again, or we thought they were going to. And it's just, it makes us feel like shit. I feel bad for the people.
It should be stated that he did end up getting those beta keys. He got them about, I want to say, 3 weeks before the beta closed. And like I said, I'm not even sure if he gave any of them out. All I know is that he definitely did receive those keys, but I think it was after he announced the second wave of people. So even when he announced the first wave of winners, they didn't actually. He told them that they would not receive their beta keys until the whole contest was over. Mm-hmm. Which the contest never officially was over, I don't think, because we haven't done any but Wait There's Lores. So I don't know. It's
I know
very
some
confusing.
people got in, but I don't know if they all did.
Yeah, for the 9 people, I don't even know. I don't think there even was given out 6. I could say I don't think there was even the last 3.
So if you happen to be one of those people and you're watching, we don't know. We didn't know what happened. We have no idea.
We are sorry that it happened. We had no idea. I remember we asked questions. It usually was responded with nothing, or basically nothing at that point. And it was just another reason to just disassociate ourselves and not want to be a part of But Wait There's Lore anymore. And I don't think there might have been one other But Wait There's Lore talking, not even a But Wait There's Lore, but a Warcraft 4 theory thing, which was once again another like, who's available in the next 30 minutes? I want to record this. And that was the last episode actually that we did, was Warcraft 4, talking about that
3 weeks ago.
3 weeks ago. And we haven't talked to him since, other than one message that I sent him about the very end here, which is the guild.
It should be noted before you get to that.
Yeah.
I believe this is why, but I could be wrong, and Dunn's still on the phone, so I can't ask him. But when we were talking about the beta contest at first, we all were like, look, we got to get out of here. And Dunn actually, unless I'm wrong, I think I'm right. That's the reason Dunn left.
Yeah,
Dunn left because he didn't want to be involved.
Yeah, he said that he didn't want to be involved with it, and I think the fear of all of us was if we were ever involved with anything in our future, for YouTube or anything else that was kind of on the internet, we didn't want to be associated with this channel and all the shady things that we knew it has done in the past, and including the beta key contest. It's just not good things that we want to be associated with. So he left at that point and said he doesn't want to do it, but with his lore, he left on very good terms, with pride. Just saying, hey, I don't want to do it, personal life stuff, which was true. He's been busy with personal life. Give me a second, I'm going to cough.
Yeah, he started a full-time job, so it's not surprising in the slightest that he ended up leaving. But that was kind of the background reason why as well.
Yeah, I ran out of water, so it's been just getting worse. I don't think John's going to make it back in time to talk about this. So we'll just go to the guild.
All right.
Similar to when Necro was offered the But Wait There's Lore within the guild, it was depressing to be in the guild and to be a But Wait There's Lore guild, and kind of people know who I am, know the show and like it, but to not raid, basically. I tried to start raiding, and it was met with maybe 6 people out of the 380 or 60 that were in the guild a week ago. And it was just bad. It was just... people were literally nervous to separate their personal life time to try and show up for raids, because apparently there had been so many failed raids before, because there had been so much missing people from the higher up, the officers, that they didn't trust that we could do this, that we could actually raid. They didn't want to give up their time for even 5 minutes to see if it could work. And it was depressing. And so I started wanting to implement mass changes. I'm not going to go into what those changes are, but a lot of people seem to like them. And at first, I could do a lot of the changes in the position I was at, but recently, I want to say this last Tuesday, we had our first guild meeting, which I have been a part, which I led. I have led, I would say, within the past 3 weeks. All the raid nights were actually happening on raid nights, unless I said otherwise. Our first guild meeting actually happened. All these things that were put into place was led completely by me. And during the first guild meeting, I said I want to completely redo the guild, and the only way I can completely redo the guild is by becoming guild leader. And because I literally wanted to do mass get out of people, because we had people, like 100 people that haven't been on in 10 months, I wanted to be able to change up the rankings, how the guild was structured. All that stuff is only done by the guild leader. And Pride at that point had not been playing, for the past 2 weeks. So I Skyped him after I got the okay from all the guild members. Everyone seemed to be okay with it. Everyone was super happy. And actually, I got a lot of whispers saying, thank you for what you're trying to do. They want it to be good, just like I wanted it to be good. And so it was very overwhelming response that people wanted this change. And when I approached Pride with it, I wrote out a very delicate, very nice way to basically put, hey, I want these changes. I know you're busy, because he is busy with Nexus Champ, because that's his new project, and it seems to be doing well. So good for him for that. But basically all this other stuff has fallen through the cracks, but wait, there's lore, the guild. And so I just said, hey, I know you're busy with this. Just make me guild leader so I can start implementing some changes. And he said, how are raid nights going? And I can make changes when I get back. With that said, at this point, after a year since BlizzCon, after all this, we all knew what is, which basically the statement was, which is, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to keep in charge, I'm not going to give it to you. Mm-hmm. And at this point, has he officially said that? No. He said what he said. That's actually a direct quote, what I just said from what the Skype message that he sent me. He hasn't talked to me since. So at this point, we just kind of left. We're like, you know what, we're done. There's nothing holding us here, but wait, there's lore clearly isn't happening. The guild, you're clearly not going to relinquish power, just like you can't relinquish power for anything else. We were done. And so we left. We made our own guild. We are cutting ties with the Smoking Gamer. No one here is doing anything with him anymore. Not but wait, there's lore, not anything. We are done with it in every fullest sense of the word. So we apologize. I mean, I'm sad about it. It eats me up inside knowing that there are a lot of people, even now, that say they're fans of the podcast, fans of us, and I have to tell them, I'm sorry, we're not doing that anymore, because the truth is I do want to, but it just can't be done in the way it's being done, and at this point there's no fixing it. Too much has happened at this point. So, I mean, that's my feelings on it. I'm going to let everyone kind of get their unique feelings now that it's the end, how they feel at this very moment in time about the Smoking Gamer, but wait, there's lore, Pride, and so on.
Rioris, do you want to go?
Oh, I'm probably going to have different feelings to most of you, seeing as I've been out of the game for, well, a year now. I haven't touched anything, and sure.
Well, you can say whatever you want.
Yeah, I mean, sure, it sucks that it did go this way. I enjoyed the show when I was a fan. I enjoyed doing the show kind of when I was making it. But I've kind of harbored a grudge against Pride for quite a while now, and I'm not surprised to see his channel fall apart like this, because it's had cracks since the beginning, and he doesn't deserve this shit, honestly. He doesn't deserve all the fancy he gets, and this is just the inevitable happening. And it's been coming for a long time, and I'm not shocked at all. That's all I really have to say on the issue.
Awesome. Well, for me, I can say, before I even joined the show, I knew of its existence. I knew about Wait, There's Lore. I had heard of Pride. I watched Jesse Cox's stuff where he was involved. I had always heard these stories that Pride was hard to work with, that he was kind of, not to be petty, but he was kind of an asshole. I heard these from other people who I had no idea what was going on. And then I got invited to be on the show, Jan and myself. And honestly, it was Jan who they wanted, and I got kind of dragged along with it. And I went on the show, and in my mind, I was always like, they're probably wrong. They don't even really know him. You know, I'll give it a chance. It's lore. I love that stuff. Let me do it. And until about BlizzCon, I was happy. Some people liked me, some people didn't. That didn't really bother me. It was fun doing what I did. I got that I was the boisterous guy who fucking swore all the time and, argue with people about pointless shit. But like Howie said, I'm very sad. It's very sad that something that I really do enjoy doing gets ruined by somebody who... I agree with Rioris. Maybe at first he did when he was actually doing work, but I don't feel like Pride deserves the channel that it is now. and I feel bad that people have to see something they like to watch every week get destroyed by someone who would rather just abandon one of his oldest things to work on something new, but not give up control of it to other people. So I guess that's my feelings on it. I kind of thought about doing this video last night, and Howie kind of joined on, and I figured, hey, Dunn and Rioris, you guys want to do it? Let's just get all of our grievances out. Not only to get us off our chest, because we've been dealing with this for like over a year for me, but over a year for these guys, but also to let you people know who watch the show the kind of person that we've had to deal with, the kind of egomania we'd have to put up with, the kind of selfishness that permeated everything that we did for Boetha's lore lately. And it's just, I'm glad, I'm sad that I can't do it anymore, but I'm glad I'm done with Pride. And I don't feel bad about saying that at all. I am sick. I'm so glad that I'm done with that guy. So, I know Dunn's on the phone still, but we're going to wrap it up, I guess, unless anyone has anything else to say. But thank you very much for watching. We didn't want to make this something that was kind of insulting to him or anything. We just needed to get our feelings out on it, because we've been boiling with this shit for months and months and months and months. In the Skype chat, every once in a while, it would just explode, and we would be arguing, not even arguing, but just yelling at the chat that we were in.
Yeah, I mean, it shows how bad things got when literally we made separate Skype chats for everyone, for the same group as the But Wait There's Lore chat, except for Pride. We just cut him out, and we're like, oh my god, that's where we would complain, that's where we would vent. It just got bad. It's the chat right now.
It is the chat that we use now.
It just got real bad real fast, and like you said, Necro, it's good that it's over, and I'm glad that I don't have to deal with Pride anymore. I plan on cutting pretty much. We're all going to be cutting ties with him. If there's anything that we have to talk about afterwards, I'm sure we've talked about it. I know that we're all still good friends, and if you want to hang out with us, I don't know. I mean, would I like to do stuff like maybe a lore kind of Warcraft stuff, maybe in the future with all three of us or four of us? I would love that, but I'm not going to say that it's going to happen because we don't know yet, so I don't want to say it's going to happen if it's not. But if you want to hang out with us, we're all still on Mal'Ganis. We're all still playing WoW. We're still us. We're still the us that you've seen. And if you want to do that, our new guild is Chromatic Contingency, which is still a Horde guild, still in Mal'Ganis. And basically, it's the guild that we all wanted from the beginning. And with this time with me at the helm, but it's restructured. And it's kind of like, this is like the whole theme of everything, from the channel to the guild. It's just a theme where if one person doesn't show up, the whole thing doesn't just die. The whole thing can still happen even without one person showing up, or the main person not being there. And so that's what the new guild is formatted. If you want to check it out, go ahead. But we look forward to having everyone. We love you guys. You guys are the reason why we stayed for as long as we did. Honestly, if you guys weren't there, I feel like everyone would have left at BlizzCon. That was real bad. BlizzCon was real bad.
Well, yeah, you guys don't understand. I don't think we ever talked about it till now. BlizzCon was bad.
It was real bad.
Very
the things
bad.
that happened. It took us an hour in the video, I know in part 1, to talk about it. If we actually talked about everything, it might have been multiple hours. If we could talk about everything, like freeform, without trying to be nice and not include personal stuff, a lot of stuff more would be included.
There's so much more.
A lot of shit has
We're
to
being nice.
We're being nice by only saying what we're saying because it only has to deal with the channel. But needless to say, thank you guys. That's all I want to do is thank you guys for not only watching this, but watching us on and supporting us. I'm honestly, I felt like shit for the people that donated the 1,000. I'm so sorry. I do not know where that money went. It didn't go to me. Or unless maybe those 2 drinks that he bought.
Made of diamonds.
I'm sorry. Yeah, it's so that's what that's about. I'm sorry for that. I'm honestly sorry for not coming out sooner. Believe me, if there was another fundraiser, we probably would have come out for that and been like, no, wait, everyone hold your money.
Yeah.
But actually, that did happen. There was an email that came in a couple days ago. Someone who donated, and I just felt so bad for them because I'm like, no, don't do it. So yeah, I'm sorry we didn't do this sooner. Honestly, I feel like that's something that should have been talked about. Pride should have been talked about before it got this far. And
We tried. We can't say we didn't try.
yeah, we're sorry. We've been trying everything to salvage the channel, but wait, there's Lore of the Guild, and it's just hitting a brick wall, an impassable wall, something that just can't be broken, something that we don't have the willpower to keep fighting anymore. So honestly, that's all I can say is that I'm sorry, and thank you guys for sticking with us as long as you did.
Mm-hmm.
I
And with
concur
that, I think
I am sorry. I mean, I was probably the one who triggered the slippery slope, but I did enjoy.
you were
the
justified,
facts.
though. So
Yeah.
don't
I
feel
may have been
bad.
justified. I may have been justified, but I do feel partially responsible, and I think we're about to get Dunn back.
Dunn's back.
Hello, Dunn. Welcome to this part.
Yo, sorry. Sorry.
You missed literally
You
everything.
can wave goodbye now to everybody.
No, it's just one of those things where, like, real life just happened to me, and a lot of the time in dealing with Pride and doing things for Pride, I've let that get in the way of real life, and so... I know it's inconvenient because people may have wanted to hear my opinions on things, but, you know, life happened, and this isn't exactly something that we planned.
Give your overall feelings at the very end, because we all did. We all gave our thoughts about how being done with Pride and we're done with the show. So how do you feel?
Have you mentioned him stealing all my ideas?
No.
Pride steals all my ideas.
What were you going to say?
I mean, we touched on it a very little bit in the first episode, but I don't think you haven't elaborated on.
Oh no, yeah, I'll use this because this is as I said at the start of the episode number 1, I'm a chill guy. I don't let things like this bother me. I left the smoking gamer a month or two ago on good terms. It's annoyed me a bit that Pride asked me to make one last appearance, and I was like, yeah, sure, I'll do that. It's the least I can do for the viewers, not for Pride, for the viewers, so the viewers know what's going on. And yeah, that just hasn't happened because I know there's been but where there's laws since then.
Yep. So, sorry, we're doing this live. Yeah, live. The information's coming to us, so that's what we're dealing with.
Yeah.
But
someone's going to have to explain this Skype chat to me in a minute, maybe off air.
I assume what we're doing now is what that meant.
Out of context, that's a quote that came from. That's something that Pride just sent me in lifetime.
Oh, okay. I was like, I can see that it's from Pride.
Yeah.
Yeah, all my ideas. Okay, so Nexus Champ was originally going to be Stormwatch, which basically what Pride is doing now is based on an old project that we used to do, which was called Gods of Smite, which was also my idea back at the time as well. I've thrown around the word co-opting a few times because I kind of like it as a word, but yeah, it's a bit annoying. I'm like, hey Pride, this is what I want to do for your channel. Pride's like, yeah, sure, and then Pride does it because Pride does it, and a little bit annoying. That's my real grievance with the thing. As I said, I left on good terms like a while ago, and a lot of what has been said today over the almost 2 hours of content here that we've made, not my personal grievances, which I said at the start of the show, the views and opinions don't necessarily reflect everyone on this little panel or cabal or whatever you want to call us.
I like the ball. It implies sinister. It makes me.
We're sitting here
I
plotting.
just want to play video games. I just want to play my D&D. I don't want to get my time is very much my own now, and I'm not tied to a show, and that's convenient for me. Like, I can go do things on whatever days, and I don't have to worry about rushing back from work because I've got to do a but wait, there's lore, and for some reason Tuesday at 6 p.m. is the only time that we can do it. 6 p.m. GMT, that is, and I finish at 5, and it usually takes me about an hour to get home, sometimes more. So I don't know. I'm just this is a thing that I'm my own person, and I agreed to come on the show because I was aware of some of the things that were being discussed are things that I was involved in, and that I think people deserve to know what's going on, or what has gone on, which has led to what's going on now. So that's why I'm here.
All right, cool. Do you want to? I guess we could plug if we want anything to plug. We can do it right now. So, Dunn, since you're starting, you might as well just plug whatever you want if you want to plug something.
Follow me on Twitter is usually the best thing. I am. YouTube channel is Drunken Beholder. Twitch channel is also Drunken Beholder. The YouTube will contain the archives of our live stream D&D games. Last time we played, we didn't stream it. It was a bit of a introductory thing that to the new campaign, I guess, that we're doing, and my OBS was playing up, and I didn't have the patience to try get it working before we stream. So hopefully the next one, you didn't miss a great deal. You missed them talking to NPCs to get quests and picking up quests, basically. So nothing massive, but follow me on Twitter. I always tweet when we're going live with a thing, and you can follow me on YouTube. If you miss the live streams, they'll be archived over on YouTube. So, and of course, I guess you can also talk to me in WoW, in the guild Chromatic Contingency, which is like the buzzwordiest guild name in the world, and I love it. That's all for me, really.
All right, Howie, anything?
No, I pretty much said my piece, so I'm good.
Anything you want to plug? Twitter or anything?
Everyone go see Laser Team by Rooster Teeth. I have been working on that now for a while.
We have a movie star here,
yeah,
ladies and gentlemen.
if you see my face, I'm in a couple scenes. I hope I don't get put on the cutting room floor, but I've been 4 days on that, 7 days later. So it's good. It's going to be funny. So everyone should go keep an eye on that.
Do that. Rioris, anything?
I don't really do shit at the moment, but if you want, you can follow me on Twitter at Rioris. I posted a thing about an art project I kind of helped out in at the weekend. I found a bit of card in Charing Cross Station and took a picture of it. It was really exciting.
Par for the course. All right. Thanks for watching, everyone. You're watching this on my channel, so if for some reason, subscribe if you want to see more lore stuff. My Twitter is also in all my video descriptions. So thanks for watching. Now we're done with serious mode, so I'll see you guys next time for whatever we want to do next, because yay, expansion's coming out next week. So thanks everyone for watching, and I'll see you next time.